Hey guys, it's KJ from the Scariest Movie Ever channel on YouTube. I got something here I wanted to put together and show you. I was pretty surprised when I saw this at first. It has to do with the Black Knight satellite. We're going to go a little bit deeper than just that. This actually is going to be covering a subject I've covered here on my channel for years now, and that has to do with the coming alien deception, the Great Deception. The Pepsi Corporation recently put out this short film called The Black Knight Satellite Decoded. I'm going to get to that in just a little bit, and it's really startling stuff. Before I do, let's talk a little bit about the Black Knight satellite itself. According to monitoring agencies around the world, the Black Knight satellite has been transmitting radio signals for over 50 years now. The US and Soviet Union have shown particular interest in this identified space object. Rumors are that it was Tesla, the scientist Tesla, was the first man to intercept a signal from the Black Knight satellite in 1899 after building a high-voltage radio device in Colorado Springs. In 1957, Dr. Luis Corrales of the Communications Ministry in Venezuela photographed the Black Knight while taking pictures of Sputnik 2 as it passed over Caracas. The story of the Black Knight made its media debut in the 1940s when the St. Louis Dispatch and the San Francisco Examiner wrote about the satellite on May 14, 1954. The Time magazine wrote about the Black Knight satellite on the 7th of March, 1960. And in 1957, an unknown object was seen shadowing the Sputnik 1 spacecraft. According to reports, this unidentified object was in a polar orbit. Now, it's important to understand, as far as official stories go, that the United States nor the Russians in 1957 actually possessed the technology to maintain a spacecraft in polar orbit. The first polar orbiting satellite was actually launched in 1960. So polar orbits are often used for Earth mapping, Earth observation, capturing the Earth as time passes from one point, and reconnaissance satellites. This would put the Black Knight in the category of an observational satellite. In the 1960s, the Black Knight satellite was located once again in polar orbit. Astronomers and scientists calculated the object's weight to be over 10 tons, which would be at that time the heaviest artificial satellite to orbit our planet. The Black Knight's orbit was unlike any other object orbiting the Earth. The Grumman Aircraft Corporation gave much importance to this mysterious satellite. On September 3, 1960, 7 months after the satellite was first detected by radar, a tracking camera at Grumman Aircraft Corporation's Long Island factory took a photograph of the Black Knight satellite. The Grumman Aircraft Corporation formed a committee to study the data received from the observations made, but nothing was made public. In 1963, Gordon Cooper was launched into space. On his last orbit, he reported seeing a glowing green object in front of his capsule in the distance moving towards his spacecraft. The Muchia tracking station in Australia, which Cooper reported the object to, picked up this unidentified object on radar traveling east to west. It was a ham radio operator who apparently decoded a series of signals received from the UFO satellite, and he interpreted it as a star chart centered on the Epsilon Boots star system. According to the decoded message, the Black Knight satellite originated from the Epsilon Boots star system 13,000 years ago. On August 23, 1954, the technology magazine Aviation Week and Space Technology released a story about the Black Knight satellite that really angered the Pentagon, who were trying to keep the information secret. NASA has released official images which apparently show the Black Knight satellite. Now, NASA itself, of course, can't be trusted with a lot of things. There's tons of symbolism all around NASA and a lot of their emblems they put out. There are plenty of really in-depth breakdowns on NASA and the symbolism you can find. I've done several videos on this myself. Just going to show you the basics here, but as you can see right there, there's the ring of Saturn. So we go back to Saturn, back to Satan, back to Saturnalia cults, and of course the obvious forked tongue. It's the red thing right there. It's a massive forked tongue. Okay, so once again, I don't trust everything that comes out of NASA, but it's still important to see what is coming out of NASA or what's coming out of any of these, so-called, official agencies. Because whether the information is true or not, what you're finding is their agenda. You're finding their narrative, what it is that they want you to believe, what they want you to see. So of course it's interesting that NASA is putting out these images of the Black Knight satellite, right? So once again, whether you believe or not, whether you trust NASA or not, it doesn't matter. This is what they're putting out. This is what they've been putting forward for a long time. And now we see this Black Knight satellite becoming potentially a major player. And now we find this Black Knight satellite potentially becoming a major player in this coming deception. So this right here is from UsherDaily.com, and of course that has to do with the musician Usher. So it's interesting because they chose Usher to actually do some of the music, but he also does the narration throughout this video that Pepsi did concerning the Black Knight satellite. And what's interesting about it, of course, is the name Usher. He's ushering this in. Let me go down here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here's the poster. Where will you be when the world unites? Black Knight Decoded. Soundtrack by Usher. Miracles, of course, right? Black Knight Decoded follows the journey of a father and daughter on their quest to decode the radio signals transmitted from the Black Knight satellite. With the help of their friend Anna, they seek to unite the world in anticipation of the Black Knight's revelation on Earth. I think it's interesting they choose that phrase too, for the revelation on Earth, right? Because that's what all this stuff has to do with. Relying on support from communities around the world, the trio are in a race against time to decode the signals and respond before the government attempts to shut them down. That is so laughable, of course. There's no way the government would try to shut this down because we know that the shadow government is behind all this stuff. A Pepsi production in association with Levity Entertainment Group. The film includes footage shot from outer space using the Year-the-Cast camera, etc., etc. Even on here, the poster is interesting to me. It's just another symbol for sun worship. And of course, that goes back to the Masons, back to the Illuminati, back to the mystery schools, the mystery religions, sun worship, or the worship of Lucifer. So of course, here on the top, in space, we don't have a Black Knight satellite or anything like that, or any spaceships, but you do have that kind of sun symbol there. Now, as for the video itself, I can't really play the video, but I can show you some snapshots from it, and I want to talk about some of the symbolism that's inside there. So the video starts off like this. In 1899, Nikola Tesla discovered a satellite orbiting the Earth. Its origin can be traced back over 13,000 years. This is not science fiction. This is real. And then they show you the satellite. And then of course here's the father and daughter, and they're getting the transmissions from the satellite. We can't forget the lady in red. There's Anna. This is Anna. This is their accomplice, I guess. And this is the lady in red. I've seen other people talking about this video, and they said that Anna was interesting because it reminded them of Anunnaki, the Anunnaki. I think that's interesting as well. The Anunnaki goes back to the space saviors, our space brothers, space saviors. And to me, that's all predictive programming. We see a lot of this on Ancient Aliens. This is the lie that's going to be sold to humanity. The idea that we were created by these space aliens, by these space saviors. And it'll literally turn religion or even faith completely on its head. There's going to be millions of people that buy this whenever it happens. Alright, now it starts getting really interesting. So I noticed some symbols here. If you look at this one right here in the background, just look over the man's shoulder. It's kind of hard to tell, but that cloud, it's all orange. It's kind of in the shape of a V. But at one point they get a little bit closer, and that cloud's no longer orange, but there's an obvious V in the background. I'm guessing that's supposed to be some kind of a cloud formation, right? But there's a V there. It's very obvious. Now the V is a symbol I've covered on many videos in the past. Not just me, there's other people who cover the symbolism as well. The Groxt 1 is a channel that covers the V quite a bit. The V being the fifth age, the last age of man. The V will be the completed New World Order. So I think it's interesting when we have this video here again talking about us communicating with our space saviors, our space brothers, and we have the V over this man's shoulder. Very clearly we have the V for the fifth age. Something else that's really interesting, the images that they show you here that they've created of the Black Knight satellite. This Black Knight satellite looks a lot more like an eye, doesn't it? Looks a lot more like a huge eye floating in space. And that should be no surprise. Once again, this is the obvious stuff. That is the all-seeing eye. It even looks a lot like this, doesn't it? Looks a lot like the Eye of Horus. We'll get back to that and see the resemblance. And that's no mistake. This is the all-seeing eye of the beast system that controls the world from the shadows. So as the video goes on, all these different countries start trying to communicate back to our space saviors, back to our space brothers and sisters. And it's interesting some of the symbols they choose. This is China. Then they go to Cancun, Mexico. Cancun's is interesting. Look at this. To me, it looks like the Large Hadron Collider around there. You've got the spiral in the middle, and also the sun symbols all around. More sun worship. Another one of the countries showed this, and I thought this was, again, just very telling. The peace sign. I've covered this before, many other people have covered that symbol in the past, but that is the broken cross. You have to look back to where these things began. You don't look at how they've been sold to us over the years. You look back. With symbolism, we always have to go back. Let's find out where it started, right? Where it started. So this is the broken cross. And to really get the point across even more, this is the rainbow. So we have the rainbow broken cross. And this is why we see that gay agenda, the LGBT thing happening, the trans agenda. All this stuff is really being put forth right now. And this is not to insult any of our friends out there that may be gay, bi, whatever, right? But this is just the facts. This is the way I see them. That this trans agenda and all this is very much anti-God. It's a slap in God's face. It's like God made you to be a man, but all of a sudden you're like, nah, I feel like being a woman, or vice versa. To me, again, it's just a slap in the Creator's face. So this is why we see the promotion of this more and more. Of course, we see it now connected with, again, the end times, the fifth age, the coming of these fake alien saviors, the coming of these space brothers and sisters, the LGBT agenda, the rainbow, the broken cross, because they're going to have to break the cross. And this isn't the only time they used the broken cross here. That's Sydney, Australia. It's Romania. Now check out Romania. And once again with Romania, we've got the broken cross. We also have the red and the blue. I'm going to get more into that in just a little bit. But once again, you have the broken cross. Why is that important? It's important because they're going to have to break the cross to have this new world order. This false world peace. I've often wondered about that myself. People always talk about Christian persecution. I know there's a lot going on in Syria right now. There's a lot happening really all over the world. But I believe that we haven't seen anything yet. Because I've always wondered, how is this going to happen? How are they literally going to have brothers and sisters and moms and dads and kids and families and friends and co-workers and neighbors? How are they really going to have everybody truly turn against each other, right? And how are they really going to persecute the Christians like that? Again, if this is supposed to be worse than we've seen in history, and there have been some horrible atrocities to the Christians throughout history, right? But this is going to be the worst one, right? The worst we've ever seen. How are they going to get there? What could cause that? Now, of course, we're constantly seeing all kinds of, false flags and hoaxes and things like this, and all these different things that are arranged, order out of chaos, right? This is what they're trying to create. But still, how are they going to get to that end game where it's truly people are on the hunt for Christians trying to take them out? And this is just my belief, just my theory, but I believe that that's what all this is going to have to be about. The broken cross, the alien visitors. Because once these things come down, once these things are revealed, it's going to be a game changer for a lot of people. And they're going to use it to destroy what's left of religion, what's left of faith. They're going to use it to destroy your belief in Jesus, your belief in God. A good example of what I'm trying to explain to you was in the movie Paul. Okay, and I've covered that movie in the past as well. It's been a major example of this predictive programming, understanding the nature of symbolism in films. We can pick these things apart. Right here, there's a lot of things going on just in this picture alone. You see right there on the right-hand side, or on your right-hand side, there's the sunflowers. Now again, that's more sun symbolism, more sun worship. And if you were to watch this movie, you'll see this stuff throughout the entire film. Not every movie is like this, but there are some that are just really obvious, and Paul was one, because Paul is all about this alien predictive programming, right? More of that alien savior stuff. As I said, this is a classic example. In the movie, as you can see right here around her neck, she's wearing a cross. So she's this, of course, dumbed down Christian character, right? This really naive Christian lady, right? But then she meets Paul. She meets the alien Paul. So throughout the movie, her story arc is her essentially abandoning her Christianity, abandoning her faith, and believing in Paul, believing in the alien saviors. So throughout the movie, she starts, quote, sinning more, right? Just kind of saying, well, whatever, I'm going to do what I want now, right? So it should come as no surprise that we have the obvious one-eye symbolism in this film as well with this character. I mean, look at the shirt, too. This is the way that they represent Christians. It's Evolve This. It's a picture of Jesus with a pistol blowing Darwin's brains out. Nice, right? But again, you can see that agenda. You can see that narrative they're pushing. This is what they want to happen to all Christians, and I think it's going to happen to a lot of people. When these things come down, it's going to be a game changer, and I genuinely believe that millions of people are going to fall for this deception. And I also believe that a big part of this deception, again, is breaking that cross. It's getting rid of the Christians, right? So moving on throughout the video, there's Warsaw, Poland. It's putting some stuff together. We got Russia. It's putting this together right here. In Las Vegas, we got this. That's right. A couple more broken crosses, right? The eyes are the broken crosses. Here is another one of the symbols from one of the countries. In Vietnam, I thought was interesting, the one they put up. You had this one right here. And that's the woman in blue. Let me show you some things about this. This has to do with the red and the blue. We see the red and the blue quite a bit, right? I've covered the red and the blue in other videos in the past and its significance to Freemasonry. So to get really deep into the red and blue pillars, or the pillars of Hercules, it would take a long time. Like I said, I've covered this before. Many others have covered it as well. But you see this color code combination coming up in all kinds of things. It's always with the red and the blue, right? And we see this red and blue once again, especially around a lot of these occult societies and a lot of these connections with the Masons or even the secret government. You may have seen this picture before. It's fairly famous, but if you look closer at the lady in blue's belt buckle right there, we have the obvious, right? We have the Matrix. Remember the Matrix. What are you going to choose? Are you going to choose the red or are you going to choose the blue? You see it in Red Bull. You see it all over the place. The red or the blue. The NBA, two sides, right? Two sides, the red or the blue. Even the Department of Education, two sides, right? The red or the blue. Chevron. I mean, this stuff just goes on and on and on. In tons of corporate logos, you'll find this stuff. No Child Left Behind, remember that? So again, we have the red and the blue. A lot of movies show this. This is Captain America, Civil War. Whose side are you on? That is the question. Whose side are you on? It's the red or the blue. So this is where I go a little bit beyond just the pillars. Like I said, now there's a lot of different meanings behind a lot of different symbols. A lot of these things can be broken down in different ways. But when I see the red and the blue like this, and especially associated with the woman in blue, so going beyond the Freemason pillars, the Red Lodge and the Blue Lodge, I believe the red and the blue is also significant in this way right here. It's the two women of Revelation. So you have the harlots, a false, unfaithful religious movement, which is the red, and then you have the pure woman, God's faithful church, which is the blue. And we see examples of the harlot, right? The harlot riding the beast. We've seen this before, so you know what this is. There's Katy Perry, of course. The harlot on the beast. The harlot. And we see the symbolism also all over the place. Again, here's the harlot riding the beast. So again, you'll see a lot of movie posters and things like this literally divided. You've got two sides. You have the red or the blue. Which side do you choose? Do you choose God's side or you choose the side of the enemy? The red or the blue? Bank of America, 11-11-11-33, right? Which side do you choose? I thought this was a classic example of that split, the right side or the left side, the red or the blue. This one right here, you got the woman on one side, and on the other side you have the phoenix. And I recently covered the phoenix in one of my videos. The phoenix is a major representation, at least in this case, of the rise of Lucifer, right? Everything has to burn, everything has to be destroyed, but out of those ashes will come the fifth age, will come the New World Order. So again, we have that split. Which side do you choose, the woman or the beast? And speaking of corporate logos, I'm just adding this in, but you can look at Pepsi, look at some of their older pictures, and you'll see the way that the logo has actually changed throughout the years. And it very much looks like an eye itself, doesn't it? And the way it's set up now, it looks very much like an eye. And that's certainly no coincidence. I mean, another example of this is if you look at Taco Bell, look at the old Taco Bell logo, right? It's pretty self-explanatory and pretty straightforward, but throughout the years the corporation sold out, and I believe it sold out to the beast system or the Illuminati or high order Masons, whatever you want to say, but they sold out and they actually changed their logo. Now their logo is this, and I covered this in a video a couple of years ago, but they changed everything, right? Now if you look underneath the bell, that's a 6. It's a perfect 6 surrounding the eye, the reptilian eye. They actually put a slit in there. Like I said, you can look at this for yourself. They changed it, right? Same with the buildings, right? That's where the 6 comes in. So you have on 3 different sides of all these Taco Bells, you got 1, 2, and then on the other side 3. There's never anything in the back. That's where like the trash is and the back door and everything, right? So you always have the 3 6s on all these buildings. Or even here's another example. Again, you have the 3 6s. You have the 3 all around the building. And you have the sign that stands alone. It's got its 6 on there, but that doesn't count. On the building itself, like I said, we're looking at the 3 6s. And if you look above those all-seeing eye symbols with the 6s on the building itself, you'll see that kind of architecture just above it, that white kind of slant or whatever. There's another example of it back here on this one. You'll see that again, right? So you ask yourself, why do they put that up there? What does it mean? Well, once again, we go back here, right? It starts making more sense. You can see that, right? And there you go. And this is how they put it right out there before your very eyes, but again, so few people see. It's one of the reasons I won't eat Taco Bell anymore. I try to stay away from some of these obvious places like this. Because to me, when I see these symbols around a building or corporation or whatever it is, that's poison to me. It's danger. That's what it's telling us. I know, your crunchy tacos and all this taste really good, but again, this is poison. This is the way I see it. This is poison. They're warning you. They're telling you right there, we are a part of the beast system. But hey, we got 99-cent tacos, so why not, right? As I mentioned earlier, the channel, The Groxed One, this man's name is Mark. I consider him a friend here and even a peer on YouTube. We've been friends on YouTube for years, occasionally sending messages back and forth and things like this. But Mark's covered the woman in blue quite a bit as well, and he shows it more as like a rapture event, as the woman escaping. I think that's very interesting as well, especially considering where we find the woman and what it's connected to, right? Because if this is the great deception, if this is really what it's all about, and if the phoenix needs to rise from the ashes, we know there's some really bad things coming. But this is our escape, right? The woman. But of course, that once again goes back to, what do you choose? Do you choose the red? Do you choose the blue? Do you choose God? Do you choose the devil? And the very last image in this video from Pepsi about the Black Knight, it shows it activating, turning on. Once it's been watching, the all-seeing eye has been watching from space. Once it sees that the world is ready for it, it starts activating, and at the very end it starts moving towards the Earth. And that's it. That's the end of the video. As I said earlier, I've covered this subject for a couple years now on my channel. It's about the Great Deception, the Great Coming Deception. I believe it's going to be aliens, but I believe these are actually the fallen angels. This is the enemy we're dealing with. So that's why I have to tell you once again, okay, this goes beyond your religion or your lack of religion or whatever it is, guys. This really is about God, and this is about the devil. This is about your salvation. So I believe it's very important for you to have Jesus Christ, okay? Now again, it has nothing to do with your denominations or your churches or whatever. Make sure you have Christ, because we have to go through the Son to get to the Father, right? So once again, claim your inheritance to the throne, okay, because now is the time. And certainly I would hope none of this stuff would happen. I don't want to see people fall for these things. I don't want to see people not make it. But if this plays out the way I see it, I'm telling you, this is a huge corporation. They're putting all this money into this stuff. I do believe this is a massive example, again, of predictive programming. That we may very well be seeing this stuff in our generation, and it could come very soon, okay? And whether it does or whether it doesn't, whether it's tomorrow or it's 5 years from now, just be prepared. Just be prepared. That's all I'm hoping for you, is just be prepared. And by being prepared, I mean accepting Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, getting that connection to God, and making sure you have that connection so you can have the Holy Spirit with them. You can be guided, and you can have the discernment to see these things for what they really are. So I'll leave you with that. Thanks for checking out the video, guys. Stay aware out there, take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you real soon.